Everyone, and welcome into TexAgs Rewind, presented by Specs. And at Specs, you don't have to spend a lot of time to taste like $1,000,000. Specs experts can help you find the perfect bottle for any budget. Visit specsonline.com for a ton of recipes handpicked by the Specs mixology experts themselves. Did I say that first line correct, Nick? I don't know if I did. You don't have to spend a lot of time for it to taste like $1,000,000. Props to Specs. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Today is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Nick, your favorite part of the show?
Dr. John Thornton. Easy.
Yeah, he was great. He classed up the joint. Reed, I know you were going to go with that, so now you got to pick somebody else.
No, that's fine. I was actually going to, I do want to give credit to Dr. John and OB talking about the hand.
Oh, I already know where you're going.
With hilarious.
I know where you're going.
Blair Anderson.
Oh, Blair Anderson.
Yeah.
I did not know you were going there. She was good. She was very good. We did have Blair Anderson on the show. Here's some of the other particulars. Nobody said Josh Pate. I guess you guys just don't love him like you used to. Nick, I'm looking at you. Josh Pate was fantastic on the program today. Ryan Brauninger came on and talked about the unfortunate news of Gavin Grahovic's injury. Luke Evangelist talking about the greatest SEC in the history of time, could beat any conference ever, like 100 times. And as we mentioned, Dr. John Thornton. That and more. It's the Rewind Check It. Why do you think it's leaning towards 14?
I don't know. I think we were trying to map it out the other day. I think with the 16-team format, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not well read on this part, is that the one where there would be no first-round buys for anyone?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah. So there may be a group out there. Well, there may be a group that just wants more teams in because that means more money for them. Let's not put it past them. There could be another group that believes it's best if everyone just plays and no first-round buys are baked in. I don't know. I think there are different structures, different formats that they could bake in. So I don't know. I think we're circling around 14, though. It seems like most people are circling around 14. Out of the two I looked at, that's the one I preferred more. But who knows, man? I always expect that there's a Ross Dellinger breaking news story coming out of one of these days or one of these meetings where you read it, and unbeknownst to us the whole time, there was this secret format they were working on, and it's only after it's been approved that it gets dumped in your lap, and you're like, out of all these possible scenarios I sketched out on a pizza box or a napkin, I never thought about this one. So I always leave room for that too.
I don't know if I understood it correctly, but I think Dinich also had a thought there could be a play-in game for like 3 and 4. Did you see that report that there could be like a way to work your way into those last spots?
Yes, of course there will be. I mean, these are the people that brought you such things as let's expand the NCAA basketball tournament from 64 to 72 to 76. I was at dinner last night with someone who's kind of in the room of making decisions on these sorts of things. Now, this person's a college football person, so I'm not talking about this person, but in a general sense, the message was conveyed yet again. It's not going to shock anyone. Not everyone in the rooms making these decisions cares about college athletics, much less has a love for college athletics. And it's ignorant to think otherwise. These are people who are looking at a P&L sheet. These are people counting beans in many cases. These are people who look at college football sort of as this inanimate object that's just another asset under the portfolio, under the umbrella. And we'll kind of do with it whatever we want to maximize revenue because it doesn't really matter. Well, they're half right. It doesn't matter to them. But it very much matters to a lot of us. But to that person, David, they would see the blowback on having a play-in game. They wouldn't even understand it. They're almost taken aback when anyone dares to push back on this sort of thing. Because to them, it's like, but it makes more money. How could you possibly have an issue with this? It makes us more money.
Well, I think we need to go back to the genesis of when this first started with Gavin. This is actually an injury that occurred before last season. And so...
going into his freshman year?
Yes, about this time, maybe a little bit before this time last year.
Okay.
But whenever they didn't do an MRI last year, they knew he had something going on in his shoulder. They gave him those injections. Right, which you can do. A lot of the athletes do it across campus for a lot of different sports. But you can only do that so many times before you really put your future, especially in a ball and socket joint, in detriment, right? No different than doing it to your hip.
Yep.
And so whenever he had to miss, so he played all year with it last year and just kind of had it medicated, for lack of a better term. And so they get done with the season. He goes and starts playing in the summer, and the wrist thing pops up, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So he has that off-season wrist surgery and allows that left shoulder to kind of settle, right? And he's not doing anything with it, so it starts to feel good. But as the season ramped up, in December, January, it started barking at him again. And then I think the play on opening night where he dove at home plate, that really pissed it off. And it's a combination of, yes, he's got a torn labrum in his left shoulder, but there's also, and you're an anatomy guy, like where your bicep connects to your shoulder, that was also highly, highly inflamed. And so when you would see Gavin swing and miss, or when you saw him kind of walk off the field after an at-bat, maybe he flew out or something, and he was it was like he was grabbing his pec, but it was actually where that bicep connects to the shoulder. Now, I don't think there's anything structurally wrong with that, but I do think the inflammation and the swelling in that tendon was really causing him a lot of pain. And so it wasn't about, he couldn't make the injury worse. Like the shoulder wasn't going to get any worse. It was as bad as it could be. But it got to the point where he wasn't himself, and it was clear to everybody that was watching that he wasn't himself. He was gutting through it, man. I mean,
here, I think we're going to see him wince here in a moment. Nick just pointed it out to me. You can see there's, so that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, and so, it's the shoulder, and that's the structural thing that's going to have to get fixed. That's what he's going to have the surgery on, and it'll be a 6-month rehab.
This is a roster that is built on transfers. They've got A.J. Hoggard from Michigan State. Jason Edwards is a true freshman who looks like one of the best players in the country. This is a team that can beat anybody on any court on any given night. They don't turn the ball over, and they take the ball away. They're top 20 in steals and turnovers, both offensively and defensively. And Jason Edwards is one of, if not the best players in the SEC. He's not the best player in the SEC, but for a team that is around 500, he is their best player. He's going for 17 a night. Actually, when A&M played Texas Tech in Fort Worth, Vanderbilt played TCU the game before that. He had 30 in that game. He had 6 threes against Tennessee a couple weeks ago, and he can really do it all for them. And A&M, like I said, they're lucky that this game is in College Station because in 1 week, Tennessee and Kentucky both went to Vanderbilt's home arena and lost. And they were both top 10. It was the first time they ever beat both of those programs when they're ranked in the top 10 in the same year. They just beat Ole Miss, and this is just a team that can beat A&M, and A&M needs to be careful.
Yeah.
This is a team that you look at the record like Mississippi State, and you say, oh, they're around 500 in conference play. This is a game A&M should win. That is not the mindset that you should be going into this one having. Vanderbilt is essentially on the bubble right now, fighting for their life.
They have to have this.
They have to have this win. And I know A&M doesn't have the best history at Vanderbilt, but Buzz Williams is 1-0 against Vanderbilt at home. So this is a game that A&M needs to have. They've done a great job taking care of those quad 2 games. You have to take care of this one.
So the key to this one, and I saw your stat that Vandy is not, they're very good at protecting the ball, even though they play at a high tempo. So what's the key to this one? Yeah,
this is a tempo that is very similar to Missouri and Oklahoma. They're not as fast as a team like Alabama that A&M obviously had to play against, but they're going to be quick and run in transition. And it's remarkable that they've brought in a completely new roster that is having to learn how to play with each other. And when you run in transition, we've seen that's typically where turnovers happen. And they've been able to do that at a high efficiency and not turn the ball over. And A&M's defense kind of lives on turning you over and forcing you into shot clock violations deep in the shot clock. And that can make Vanderbilt a little bit uncomfortable because they're used to getting their shot up pretty quickly. So it's kind of going to be a battle of A&M's defense of holding you out and keeping you out of the middle and forcing you to take outside shots against a team that wants to go quickly and play unsettled. But also when they do play offense, they're not going to turn the ball over and be careless. So it's going to be a battle of A&M's defense against Vanderbilt's offense.
I'm kind of kidding. Who's the 3rd or 4th best three-point shooter on that team, and why are they going to have 16 points? I'm kidding.
Probably AJ, but he's a great player. I mean, he was Michigan State's best player for a couple of years. And
I agree with you. I agree with you totally. And the thing with me is it was disappointing because we played very well in some categories, but we were just average in others. When you play a quality opponent like that, you've got to have your best players playing well and kind of fill the boxes on the categories. We didn't do that. Still a ball game. And, oh, by the way, Lanier hit a bunch of shots, and he was open a couple times, but he was contested. The dude had an unbelievable night. And we had our scoring, duo did not. So, like you, I'm disappointed, but you can kind of rationalize how that occurred.
Sure.
Number 6 and number 7, it's a ball game. And, I like what we do. We're different than other people, which makes us a tough out.
Yeah.
Because when you got this kind of cookie cutter money ball, do the different things that you do, we're not like that. And that our toughness, where we wear you out physically, that plays well, especially in postseason.
Well, and I've also said that, like, more than likely in the first and second, and hopefully in the Sweet 16, you're not going to be taking on teams that you've been playing week to week or day to day in the SEC.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the other part of it is that newness. Everybody's familiar now, right? Because there's tape in the can. You played somebody more than once. Everybody sees you. They've seen you last year. But it's a whole new ball game when you take that next step. And what we have to do is just focus on and it's so corny to say this, but focus on what's happening right now.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, are we disappointed? Yeah. Well, write that.
Yeah.
You're at home. Now, Vandy's a good basketball team, much like everybody else in the league. They have their moments. And so, do what you do and don't get away from that.
Yeah.
And then I think we're still growing offensively at what we're capable of doing because we have more weapons than we've had.
So Vandy's very capable of beating you, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot look ahead at Florida. You cannot think about the 2 losses. You've got to. It's not a must-win in the, because I think your future's secure. But it is I don't want to call it a get-right game either. It's just a game. I think we really need to see them play well and win.
The key 2 words is play well. I mean, you play well, you can live with that. And playing well is having everybody integrated defensively because you're going to have to do this. They play positionless basketball, and everybody's a threat. They have 5 guys that basically are double figures, and they put intense pressure on you if they get you in rotation, and they have a little bit of everything.
Yeah. All right, Reed, tell the people what to do.
Make sure to like, subscribe on YouTube, join TexAgs. You can watch the live on there as well. Text to 1150 The Zone. It makes all of our jobs a lot easier. And follow us on Twitter.
Do you think, Nick, he'll do this? Because sometimes I do this and it's probably hazing, but I don't mean it to be hazing. Sometimes I have people do voices. You think Reed's the kind of guy who would do a voice for us?
I think he's only got one voice, but we can try. Maybe we're wrong.
What accents or what kind of fake voices can you give us? I'm sure you've prank called somebody before.
I mean, you got to give me something to go off of.
No, you just come up with I come up with a voice all the time. I just do things. So
this is hazing. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, fine. Now that you say it like that, I'm not going to have you have fun with the group anymore. God forbid you work at TexAgs.
I'll do it next Tuesday.
I've lost interest. Thanks, Reed. We'll see you next time.